Alleged airstrike killings in Nasarawa Benue border community. Nasarawa state government commences investigation.
Been on it all night, trying to resolve the matter with Chief of Defense Staff, Mayor Allah, Wild Stroke, and all the security agencies, including our Commissioner of Police.
No one person, no matter who, can shun the summons of a house.
National Assembly leadership to meet President Buhari on currency swap deadline. No hiding place for criminals in the country, Interior Minister warns. Good evening. Welcome to NTA Network News. I'm Cyril Stober in Abuja. Hingino John Adams will be joining me from Lagos. And you can follow this news live on our website, nta.ng/live, NTA News Now, and other social media platforms displayed on the screen. Our several landmark infrastructure projects in critical economic sectors executed by the Masari administration have been inaugurated in Katsina State. President Muhammadu Buhari, who performed the ceremony, described the projects as worthy legacies of uprightness in leadership. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has the details.
It was a massive show of appreciation, respect and solidarity for President Muhammadu Buhari as he traversed Katsina Metropolis to inaugurate various people-centered priority projects executed under the restoration agenda of the Masari administration. First to be inaugurated was the Kofar Kaura underpass. The more than 2.9 billion naira infrastructure project not only enhanced the beauty of the capital city, but most importantly, the free flow of traffic in the area. A similar underpass executed at Kofar Kwaya was also declared open by the president for use by the motoring public. Governor Aminu Bello Masari also led President Buhari to inaugurate the upgraded Kofar Kaura Katsina Water Works, now meeting the potable water requirement of the people, as well as the revenue house for the Katsina Board of Internal Revenue, executed and furnished at over 800 million naira. The president was informed that through various revolutionary initiatives by the agency, internally generated revenue in the state has increased from 6.2 billion naira to more than 13 billion naira. The Katsina General Hospital, one of the 9 health institutions remodeled and upgraded across the state, was also inaugurated by the president. The 350-bed hospital, established in 1907, now equipped with state-of-the-art facilities, provides services to about 600 patients daily.
We are very grateful, Mr. President. We thank you for your presence and for your intervention and for the patience to listen to us. And that is what leadership is all about. Selfless service, unbiased service.
Given his impression at the state luncheon organized in his honor, President Muhammadu Buhari applauded Governor Masari for demonstrating high sense of responsibility, transparency and accountability in governance of the state.
I congratulate you, Governor. We are pleased that we are associated with your successes. You picked your priorities, and I'm very pleased your priorities are our priorities as a nation. You have done so much in education and in health. That is the fundamental thing.
Taking pride in the achievements recorded in addressing Nigeria's fundamental challenges, the president once again harped on the need for the nation's elites to also put Nigeria first in their actions or inactions.
We are defeating Boko Haram as much as we are defeating all the enemies of this country. But we have to persuade the elite to please think more of the country than themselves individually. If they were doing that, I assure you that the governments in Nigeria will be having a nice time. As it is, they are having a rough time.
More legacy projects are built for inauguration in other parts of the state on the second day of the state visit to the home of hospitality by President Muhammadu Buhari. From Katsina, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
In the meantime, the president says it is fulfilling and reassuring that Nigerians have demonstrated the capacity to grow what they eat and eat what they grow. This was while inaugurating Dharma Rice Mill in Katsina, a product of his administration's rice revolution. Here again is Adamu Sambu, who reports that the president also inaugurated the Meteorological Institute of Science and Technology, Katsina.
Owned by a renowned philanthropist and elder statesman, Dahiru Mangal, the rice mill was established in support of President Muhammadu Buhari's policies and programs for food sufficiency and security. Producing 400 bags of 50 kg rice per day, the rice mill, fully automated and integrated with accompanying fertilizer company, provides 100,000 direct and indirect jobs. Adjudged for environmental safety, the company is the second in Nigeria to generate self-sustained electricity supply using husk via turbines. President Muhammadu Buhari described the private initiative as a proof of his administration's success story in the rice revolution drive. The country, he said, can indeed grow what it eats and eat what it produces. The president also inaugurated the Meteorological Institute of Science and Technology, Katsina. It was established by NIMET to serve as a center for training and research on meteorological and climate change sciences. It is an international resource center for technological development by bringing into being highly skilled human resource via conventional and distance learning approaches driven by modern information and communications technology philosophy. Aviation Minister Hadi Sirika described the institute as significant for Nigeria.
Institute was on purpose created, to be able to monitor climate change and weather activities. It's something that is new in this part of the world, but as noble as it is, the impact is great. And what they do here is being transmitted live, onto our servers in Abuja, and then we also transmit it to the world. Quite often, we get the data and the information earlier than any part of the world sometimes. We monitored even hurricanes as far as America, in the Americas and in
Katsina here.
Libya. From Katsina here, yes. So what NIMET is doing really is unprecedented, since the coming of President Muhammadu Buhari.
NIMET has a mission to, amongst others, observe weather and climate, as well as provide meteorological, hydrological, and oceanographic services for socio-economic development and safety of lives and property. From Katsina, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
After the recent inauguration of an endowment fund's Board of Trustees for the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says the task for the institute is to determine how it will affect human history, beginning with Nigeria. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
This is the first meeting of the trustees for the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies. The need to reposition the institute and attract significant financial backing from the private sector and other non-public sector sources were emphasized. The consensus was that the time had come for the National Institute to take its place as a foremost institute along the lines of notable globally ranked think tanks. As Vice President Yemi Osinbajo explained, one of the reasons a think tank is effective is because it is a place where people think and develop ideas. The Vice President observed that countries that have made progress seek ways not just in developing their own think tanks, but in looking for other think tanks that they can collaborate with, noting that there is so much happening around the world and a lot of collaboration is necessary. The Vice President said one of the critical things for the board in NIPS would be to first of all realize that the ideas would be really thinking and developing ideas. Vice President Osinbajo identified other areas that should concern NIPS, including developing ideas on how to get extreme poverty out of the country, address climate change issues, among others. The Sultan of Sokoto restated the trustees' commitment to serve and assured the Vice President of their preparedness to deliver on the mandate. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
There is no hiding place for criminals in the country and for those planning to cause mayhem in the 2023 general election. They should start having a rethink. This warning was handed down by the Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, while speaking on the readiness of the ministry and its agencies in the prevention of crime and protection of lives and property of all Nigerians at all times. Here again is Jide Onifade with the report.
Because the government must be on top of all challenges, whatever it takes, whatever is required, we will not allow the criminals to have the upper hand.
A note of warning to the criminally minded within and outside the country to stay clear. The warning coming from Rauf Aregbesola, Minister of Interior, whose ministry has the mandate for formulating and implementing policies and programs that enhance internal security, public safety, creating and enabling environment for foreign investors, as well as the promotion and maintenance of the integrity of the Nigerian citizenship identity.
It's an ongoing thing. No society has succeeded in eliminating crimes and criminals. Ours will not be an exception. But what is important is that our capacity to curtail, neutralize, apprehend, and bring to justice end their nefarious acts.
The ministry oversees 4 paramilitary agencies: the Nigerian Correctional Service, the Nigeria Immigration Service, and the Federal Fire Service, as well as the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps.
The ministry and its agencies between 2015 to date worked assiduously to achieve the presidential and ministerial mandates by evolving approaches to internal security, public safety, and citizenship integrity, driven by innovation, people, technology, and systems, in addition to robust collaboration with critical stakeholders. We are determined to make our services available to the public in a seamless and customer-centric manner.
The minister also explains that while few renounced their Nigerian citizenship, there has been an increasing number of foreigners applying for Nigerian citizenship. It says from 2015 to 2022, more than 9 million passports were produced, while the major achievement is the domestication of the production of the e-passports.
We issued 1,700,000 passports last year. And that's a clear indication of the fact that there's a heavy demand on passport issuance.
The Advisory Committee on Nigerian Citizenship will sit on the 7th of February to consider another 350 applications for naturalization.
Rauf Aregbesola emphasized, however, that the work of nation building is a joint task for all Nigerians.
We believe in the transparency.
The minister was the special guest at the 64th edition of the weekly executive briefing of press at the presidential villa in Abuja. From the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Professor Isa Ali Pantami, says the ministry has created more than 2 million jobs and embarked on 2,000 projects. ICT correspondent Chimdema Ndubisi reports that these were some of the winning cards laid on the table by the minister at the 19th edition of the PMB Scorecard series.
Digital economy is no longer an independent sector, but the common thread that links other sectors. Just in 3 years, Nigeria redesignated the Ministry of Communications to Communications and Digital Economy, setting 8 key priority areas. It's been melodious sung with accompanying background of progressional achievements. An assessment by independent foreign consultants, KPMG and FCDO, at the 2022 ministerial retreat. The sector shines with distinction. Quarterly contribution to the nation's GDP is up from 51 billion naira to a little above 400 billion naira. Number of 4G base stations nationwide, more than 39,000. 5G network, now in more than 200 sites across the country. At a time when prices of goods and services of other sectors are rising, those of communications and digital economy are getting more friendly. Current cost of 1 gigabyte of data, 350 naira, down from 1,200 in 2019. Citizens enrollment up from 39 million 13 years ago to 94 million in just 3 years.
Nigeria happens to be the first African country to have the services of SpaceX and Starlink. If you have the disk of Starlink, the dish immediately, wherever you are in Nigeria, you will be able to access broadband services. With Starlink in Nigeria, today we have 100% broadband penetration in Nigeria.
In carrying out its IT clearance role for government establishment, well above 42 billion naira saved for the government. More than 600 cyber attacks resisted during the 108 virtual sittings of the Federal Executive Council. In curbing cyber crimes, computer emergency readiness and response, as well as computer security incident response teams that monitor and alert systems of impending cyber attacks are up and running.
Today in Africa, to the best of our knowledge, there is no any data center that is over and above the tier 4 data center we have in Cameroon. This is part of our effort in order to ensure the digitalization of government functions and services.
The sector has also continued to work with security agencies in tracking criminals. Our world-class National Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics stands fortified at the seat of power, Abuja, a symbol of Nigeria's readiness for the future. Emerging technologies. Communications and Digital Economy boss states that the will to double efforts for more achievements is increasing daily. In Abuja, Chimdema Ndubisi, NTA News.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says the promise by former Vice President and PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar that he will resolve all challenges that have stalled the completion of the Ajaokuta steel plant in Kogi State is a ploy to deceive Nigerians. The minister stated this at the 19th edition of the PMB Scorecard series, which featured the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Isa Ali Pantami. Anthony Forsin reports.
The platform is the 19th edition of the PMB Administration Scorecard series.
About 2 weeks ago, during his campaign stop in Kogi State, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate of the PDP, said if voted into office, his government will resolve the problems facing the Ajaokuta Steel Company.
Lai Mohammed says politicians should desist from campaign of deceit in their quest for power.
A little bit of background will show that the former vice president was deceiving Nigerians when he made that promise. Ajaokuta was concessioned to global steel industry in 2004 by the regime of then President Olusegun Obasanjo, who was in charge of that administration's privatization program. It was the same Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. That concession that turned out to be a mess was terminated by another PDP administration.
The minister said, following the concession which Atiku Abubakar supervised, 12 years after, President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration has to engage in an out-of-court settlement to reclaim the Nigerian asset.
The company finally settled for $496 million. Out of that amount, we made an initial bulk payment of $250 million and agreed to pay the balance in 5 installments. As of today, we have paid a total of $446 million out of the $496 million. We will make the last payment of less than $50 million next month, and Ajaokuta will revert fully to us, ending the shameful and failed concession by the administration which Alhaji Atiku Abubakar served as the VP.
To this end, Lai Mohammed maintained that the concession was not well thought out.
What I'm saying in a sense is that the problems facing Ajaokuta was a poorly thought out and poorly executed concession by the regime in which Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was vice president, and a regime under which he presided over the failed privatization program. If the former vice president had any solution to the Ajaokuta challenge and he didn't execute it in 2004, why should Nigerians trust him to do so in 2023?
And as Nigerians head for the polls in a few weeks' time, this is his words for Nigerians.
Nigerians should beware of snake oil salesmen who engage in deceit just to swindle them. The solution to Ajaokuta does not lie in the hands of the same people who scuttle development of the country's tea industry through a questionable concession.
In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, says government will continue to empower anti-corruption agencies in carrying out their mandate. Ali Tukur reports that the SGF was speaking at a conference by the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption.
X-raying the fight against corruption is the thrust of this gathering. From their discussions, the fight is yielding results. As they say, more than 1 trillion naira has been recovered and many convictions secured under this administration.
These feats have been realized due to the excellent performance of anti-corruption agencies. The activities of the ICPC, EFC, EFCC, NFIU, and the Ministry of Justice, in collaboration with the police and the DSS for arrest, prosecution, convictions, and assets recoveries, are quite commendable.
Total recoveries are, in my rough view, hovering around 1 trillion naira. And even more remarkably, these recoveries have been recycled through the budgets.
Nevertheless, new strategy that will ensure corruption is brought to its knees is required, and that calls for proactive measures from all arms of government. The conference will also focus on asset forfeiture regime in addition to prosecution. Aliu Tuku, NTA News.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo says true democracy can address national problems no matter how complex. The former president made the assertion in his address at an international conference on deepening democratic culture and institutions for sustainable development and security in Nigeria. Ogedi Nyekweri reports.
As a gathering of the academia, political players, policymakers and industrialists to deliberate on the future of Nigeria's democratic culture and how it can be deepened to strengthen institutions for sustainable development and security.
Democracy is not a one-shot game. It is evolutionary, and it takes time to ground the practice. It is not for quick change.
Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike stressed that deepening democratic culture and institutions for sustainable development and security is important in the country, while free and fair elections with integrity remains the only pathway to achieving this objective.
The success of these elections will add value by consolidating and strengthening the roots of our democracy.
Out of this conference, we will come up with fresh ideas on how we might better imbue our democracy with a civic, forward-looking, and inclusive culture.
The event also featured the unveiling of a book titled Bridging Rivers that encapsulates the achievements and developmental history of Rivers State. In Port Harcourt, Ogedi Nyekweri, NTA News.
Nasarawa State Government says investigations have commenced to unravel the circumstances that led to the killing of some persons along the Nasarawa-Benue border. Governor Abdullahi Sule, who sympathized with families of the victims, appealed for calm. Aliu Tijani reports.
The relative peace being enjoyed around boundary communities of Nasarawa and Benue states has been disrupted with an alleged bomb that killed scores in a community. Although the state government says security personnel have been reinforced and drafted to Doma local government area to dose tension in boundary communities, efforts will not be spared to find out cause of the bomb blast. Governor Abdullahi Sule appeals for calm and urges everyone to go about their lawful businesses as he warns against any form of reprisal attack.
Been on it all night, trying to resolve the matter with Chief of Defense Staff, Mayor Allah, Wild Stroke, and all the security agencies, including our Commissioner of Police, so body, to ensure that we continue to douse the tension that may generate as a result of this. So by the grace of God, we'll see how to ensure that we maintain peace in that area.
As at the time of filing the report, investigations were still on to unveil the cause of the incident. In Lafia, Aliu Tijani, NTA News.
And the Nigerian military says the ongoing operations across the country are in strict compliance with the rules of engagement. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Musa Amadami, stated this while reacting to a recent report on the alleged killing of herdsmen and their cattle along the border between Nasarawa and Benue states in north-central Nigeria.
The Armed Forces of Nigeria, we are very professional about the way we are carrying out our counter-insurgency operations across the country. Our code of conduct is clear, the rules of engagement is clear, and our targeting procedures are clear. The majority of our operations are intelligence-driven, and all this, our code of conduct, targeting procedures, and rules of engagement are in tandem with international best practices. And I can assure you, we will continue to conduct operations in line with these procedures.
In the meantime, the Nigerian Army has developed a Heritage and Future Center, a think tank for imminent transformation of the Army. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports that the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, performed the inauguration at the Muhammadu Buhari Cantonment, Giri, Abuja.
Beyond kinetic and non-kinetic operations geared towards securing the nation, the Nigerian Army is also advancing research and development to effectively address the dynamic and complex nature of emerging security challenges. The establishment of the Heritage and Future Center is expected to fast-track the formulation of policy framework by adding value to Nigerian Army's activities in terms of preserving its history and drawing lessons for ongoing and future operations through critical analysis.
It is pertinent for me to mention the central role research plays in providing constructive solutions to myriad of problems facing the armed forces of Nigeria. Dynamics of the operating environments of the armed forces of Nigeria demand that we x-ray the lenses of our engagement in various thematic areas.
It is my desire to emplace measures that will prevent a reversal of the gains built on existing success and project Nigerian Army as a modern, highly professional army into the future. Address Nigerian Army's specific thematic challenges.
The Nigerian Army recently inaugurated the Land Forces Simulation Center. The first fleet of operational vehicles approved for the center were also inaugurated. From the Nigerian Army Heritage and Future Center in Giri, Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
The Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria has inaugurated the first phase of the National Affordable Housing Delivery Program for Nigerian workers. In a message, Governor Yahaya Bello urged the organization to do more to address the country's housing challenges. Solomon Aiden reports.
We commission it to the glory of God Almighty.
The housing scheme, which comprises of 20 units of 1 bedroom, 40 units of 2 bedroom, and 40 units of 3 bedroom semi-detached bungalows, was developed by the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria in collaboration with the Organized Labor and the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, NECA. It was built to provide accommodation for Nigerian workers at an affordable rate and serviced with basic infrastructure, including good internal road network, drainage, water and electricity for a conducive and livable environment.
We are all aware that cost of building materials, cost of funding are prohibitive and beyond the reach of an average Nigerian worker. And that is why His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, supported this scheme for the benefits of the workers, Nigerian workers that are contributing to the scheme.
I assure the families which will live in this estate that they will be well protected and they will not be at the mercy of criminals.
Nigeria Labour Congress, Trade Union Congress, and NECA, we are ready to put our heads together as we did here and make sure that houses, affordable houses are given to our workers.
There is still hope in this project called Nigeria, because when I applied, it was a seamless exercise.
They appeal to the state government to quickly construct the road linking the estate to make it accessible to the people. In Lokoja, Solomon Ayedehi, NTA News.
And time to go over to Hingino John Adams in Lagos for more reports on network news. Hingino.
Thank you, Cyril. Consolidating on its cashless policy, the Central Bank of Nigeria is collaborating with the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System, has unveiled the first ever domestic card scheme. Ruth Aria Samuel, who was at the virtual launch, reports that the card called Afrigo, which will run alongside existing ATM cards, was unveiled by the Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele. Central Bank Governor.
Charting the future of payments. The stage is set.
Optimistic on the advantages of the card on the economy, the CBN governor said the scheme will in no way affect international service providers. Instead, it will build opportunities for the Nigerian economy to integrate the informal segment, reduce shadow banking, and bring more Nigerians into the formal financial services system.
The establishment of national domestic card schemes is in line with domestic global trends. Nigeria, by this initiative, will therefore be joining countries like China, Russia, Turkey, and India, who have launched domestic card schemes and harness the transformative benefits for their respective payments and financial systems, particularly for the underbanked.
Stating how strategic Nigeria is, stakeholders highlighted that the National Domestic Card Scheme, Afrigo, which is produced by Nigeria for Nigerians and Africans as well, is a collaborative effort of payment ecosystems in Nigeria for the greater benefit of all.
This is a card that will help the economy in areas of FX management, a platform for innovation where we can actually build solutions to our own problems.
Nigerian National Domestic Card Scheme aims to facilitate the growth of Nigeria's payment ecosystem, promote more customized payment services, tighten payment security, deepen financial participation, ensure data sovereignty, eradicate foreign exchange dependency, as well as improved affordability and more flexible payment options. In Lagos, Ruth Ario Samuel, NTA News.
The federal government has mandated the 5 lending institutions chosen for the disbursement of the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund, CVFF, to draw up a uniform template specifying modalities for disbursement, interest rate, among others. This decision was reached at an interactive session with the banks in which the Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Bashir Jamo, presented the government's position. Michael Olale reports.
The path to equipping Nigerian ship owners to compete favorably on the global stage took a big leap on the 10th of December 2022 when the Minister of Transportation, Muazu Jaji Sambo, announced approval for the disbursement of the $350 million Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund, CVFF. Crucial to the implementation of the initiative geared at improving capacity of indigenous ship owners in Nigeria is the selection of 5 lending institutions in line with enabling law and guidelines. This stakeholders' engagement is the first in the series, and the major concern of the federal government is purely securing the interests of ship owners by ensuring that lending institutions adhere to the provisions of disbursements.
We are going to develop an action plan. The action plan will come with deliverables,
timelines, key performance indicators, and other things like that. So the timeline is the one that will tell you when.
The Director General of NIMASA explains that the modalities to be presented by the institutions must put into consideration the interest rate, tenor, and collateral.
We are giving them money in the international currency, not Nigerian currency. So they cannot start looking at the Nigerian lending rate. So we should look at the uniform international best practices in lending rate. We are giving them in dollars. We are not giving them naira.
The lending institutions gave assurance of speedy harmonization, hoping that this will be acceptable to all concerned, as the success of the entire process is paramount to them. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NTA News.
Time now for a break. The news will be back shortly. Don't go away.
Welcome back. As the January 31 deadline on the currency swap draws nearer, the House of Representatives passes a resolution that the leadership of the National Assembly will meet and brief President Buhari on the situation across the country. The House also says it will not hesitate to ask the Inspector General of Police to issue warrant of arrest on some officials of the Central Bank of Nigeria if they again fail to honor its invitation, as the House reschedules the meeting to discuss matters arising in relation to the implementation of the cashless policy. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
The embedded principle of checks and balances, then this cannot continue. No one person, no matter who, can shun the summons of a house.
The House had during plenary expressed dismay that officials of the CBN failed to appear Wednesday for a meeting convened by the lawmakers. The planned engagement was to have a true situation on adequate disbursement of the redesigned currency in the face of looming deadline.
This House owes Nigerian people a duty, and we owe our economy a duty to ensure that what is done world over in terms of phasing out old notes to inject new notes must be the case in Nigeria.
Kano, municipal and other places, shops are closed now. And it's happening almost all over the places.
The president gave his approval based on what he knows and what he has been told. We all know the president to be a man of the people.
The House maintains that it is aware of the provisions of Section 20, subsection 3 of the CBN Act, which mandates the Apex Bank to redeem the face value of currency. Plenary also featured second reading of a bill seeking the establishment of Donor Agencies Regulatory Commission, sponsored by Representative Uyime Idem, after a prolonged debate.
Inasmuch as we appreciate this assistance that this international community have given to this country, we also need to know how these activities are being run.
Substantial part of their expenditure is more or less a current expenditure, not because of anything, because they don't have an agency regulating their activities.
Who are these international donors? USAID, UKID, UNICEF, DFID, United Nations, European Union, OAU, and all whatnot. Is that whom we want to go to control? Mr. Speaker, like Osai said before he started doing the right, we will compound issues.
Another bill seeking the establishment of Federal University of Agricultural Technology in Damboa, Borno State, sponsored by Ahmed Jahababao, was among bills considered and approved at the Committee of the Whole. 7 bills were read for the third time and passed. They include the amendments to the Legislative Houses and Privileges Act, which seeks proper designation for National Assembly members. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
In time now for business news with Benny Adams. Benny.
Thank you. And now talking business, the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council says to have the Nigeria of our dreams, there is need to trust the nation's reforms process and support MSMEs for desired economic growth.
Not the big businesses that employ labor in Nigeria. Over 84% of jobs in Nigeria are generated by MSMEs, and that means that as MSMEs grow, more and more jobs will be created, which means less insecurity because less unemployment. And as more of them grow, they pay more taxes, which means more revenue for the economy. Please support the reforms, believe the government, tell us where we're going wrong. If the reforms are not your priority, share with us, communicate with us what your priority is, and we will address.
And taking a look at markets, Nigeria's equities market on Thursday rose by 0.29%, while investors gained 84 billion naira. And at the end of today's trading session, a total of 139.6 million shares in 3,549 deals, corresponding to a market value of 2.021 billion naira, were traded. Compared with previous trading day Wednesday, today's data shows 17% improvement in volume but 25% decline in turnover. The current market capitalization is 28.7 trillion naira. Guarantee Trust Holding recorded the highest volume traded shares, followed by Access Holdings, Fidelity Bank, and Mutual Benefits Assurance. That is business news, and network news continues.
Thank you, Benny. The Central Bank of Nigeria says it is leveraging on agents to take the new redesigned Naira notes to hard-to-reach areas of Plateau State for currency swap. Director of Payment System Management Department of the CBN, Musa Jimo, stated this while addressing journalists in Jos. Indeyang and Diabagyang reports.
Days to the 31st January deadline for currency swap from the old Naira notes to the new redesigned ones, the Central Bank is intensifying monitoring and sensitization exercise in Plateau State.
We actually work with the super agents. The super agents are the entities that CBN has licensed to manage these agents. They were able to identify the agent outlets where this can actually happen. And it was actually premised on the fact that we want it to be in the hinterland.
Mr. Jimo calls on Nigerians to be whistleblowers and draw attention of the Central Bank to any defaulting deposit money bank.
No ATM is supposed to dispense old note anymore because all the banks have been provided adequate new currency notes. If there is anyone, please let us know.
The Central Bank also visited some rural communities for on-spot assessment of the currency swap. In Jos, Indenyan and Diabagyang, NTA News.
And all hope is not lost for communities and towns in the hinterland of Borno State liberated and resettled without banking services, as the CBN cash swap program has reached many individuals and holders of small businesses, including POS. This is part of efforts to assist hard-to-reach areas of the 25 local governments in Borno without banking services to access the redesigned notes days to the deadline. Umaru Kirawa, just back from some council areas in the central and southern parts of Borno, will tell us more.
A sigh of relief beckoned on Mohammed Tahir and other people in the newly resettled communities of Borno and Yobe when officials of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, visited them as they trooped in their numbers to change their old notes.
The process of assessing the new notes is tedious.
I am a petty trader and I was able to get the new Naira note with great difficulty.
Alhamdulillah, ni na samu canji na karba na fita.
Naira 20,000 kenan abin da na samu a cikin 500.
Amma ka ta gwamnati amlin gwamnati dale a fangar fuka bana.
We are calling on the CBN to extend the deadline and more notes.
Muna roko kuma.
We are begging government to increase the volume of cash for the swap for the poor man to benefit.
Director of Statistics of the CBN, Dr. Muhammad Musa Tumala, advised the citizenry, especially traders in the marketplaces, to ensure that they deposit all the old notes in banks before the deadline.
We are determined to ensure that this policy succeeds.
Okay. What of the hard-to-reach community?
That is where, you see, this place is hard to reach. We are here. We are going to go everywhere in Nigeria.
The CBN team, which is spread across Goza, Bama, Mafa, Manguno and Benishek in Kaga, among other local government areas of Borno State, according to Dr. Muhammad Musa Tumala, will cover all the nooks and crannies of the state before the deadline to ensure compliance.
With the increased efforts in the provision of new Naira notes, sensitization and supervision by the Apex Bank, the CBN authorities strongly believe that the January 31st, 2023 deadline against the usage of the old Naira notes is feasible. From the palace of the Emir of Goza, Umaru Kirawa, NTA News.
We'll take another short break. We'll be back.
Zamfara State Coordinator for the APC Presidential Campaign Council, Senator Kabiru Garba Marafa, invites all Zamfara State and Northwest APC supporters and well-wishers to come out in mass and welcome His Excellency, the APC Presidential Candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to his presidential campaign in Zamfara State to hold on Saturday, 28 January 2023 at Zamfara Trade Fair Complex Bypass Gusau by 10 a.m. As His Excellency Zamfara State Governor Bello Muhammad Moyan Matole Maradun, alongside their Excellencies the former governors Senator Ahmad Sani Rima Bokura, Alhaji Mahmoud Aliu Shinkafi, Honorable Abdulaziz Yara Abubakar, all former deputy governors, all APC National Assembly members, and all APC candidates warmly welcomes the Jagaba Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu to Zamfara State. Special guest of honor, APC National Chairman Senator Abdullahi Adamu, Chief Host Zamfara State APC Chairman Alhaji Tukur Damfulani. Welcome the Jagaba. Ibrahim Damari King Gidongoga, Chairman Publicity Committee Announcer.
Good morning.
Good morning. Why is your sun shining like this?
Can't you see that Harmattan season is here? We need to protect our children from this dry weather.
What about the invisible germs?
Invisible germs?
During Harmattan, it's not enough to only protect your skin. You also need protection from these invisible germs. To protect our families, we use Dettol.
Harmattan season brings a lot of germs, but Dettol with Germ Defense gives protection from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol sure.
Men do not like overconfident women.
Don't touch me without my permission.
I'm a playful guy and I do get carried away sometimes.
You are selfish, manipulative, and you are a narcissist.
After all I've done for you.
What have you done for me?
Look, she called me barren.
You know my mom doesn't know any better, right?
You say that now, but then when you see your mother, you start to act like you're deaf and dumb.
You were supposed to be more careful.
I've been.
Clearly not enough.
The APC Presidential Campaign Council says the statement credited to its presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu that Nigerians should no longer be in doubt about those working in cahoots with fifth columnists in the system to inflict avoidable pains on the people following fuel and new Naira note scarcity should not be misrepresented as blaming or accusing President Muhammadu Buhari for the current challenges in the country. In a statement, the APC Presidential Campaign Council says PDP and the Atiku camp is derailing from the issues and distorting Bola Tinubu's statement to create a wedge between the presidential candidate and President Muhammadu Buhari. The statement says, for the records, Asiwaju Tinubu during the APC campaign rally at Abeokuta was only drawing government's attention to the sabotage being carried out by some fifth columnists in the system, possibly working with the PDP. The statement adds that Asiwaju Tinubu is aware of the creative efforts by President Buhari to end the fuel queues, including chairing a 14-man panel. The APC Presidential Campaign Council notes that no political blackmail or attempt to create a conflict between Tinubu and his long-term ally, President Buhari, will work. That concludes Network News tonight. Thank you for watching, but remember the fight against rape and rapists is still on. Stand with the NTA. I'm Cyril Stover. Good night.